Oh, Katy Perry, are you kidding me? Especially when she's wearing blue hair. And by the way, you can't miss Stacy Keibler, just FYI. All right, the first presidential debate and the latest jobs report having a major impact on the race for the White House. According to the latest Rasmussen poll, Governor Mitt Romney now leads President Obama with 2 percentage points. Now, that's a big boost for the governor following Wednesday night's debate. Also, the latest Gallup poll giving President Obama a slight lead over Governor Romney with 49%. Let's bring in our campaign insiders to talk about this. Representative John Lebutillier, former Republican congressman for New York; Pat Caddell, Fox News contributor; former pollster for President Jimmy Carter; Doug Schoen, he too a Fox News contributor and a former pollster for Bill Clinton. Doug, is the Rasmussen poll a little bit more accurate because it's strictly post-debate?
Absolutely. I think Gallup is 7 days, if memory serves me. Scott Rasmussen polled, I think, 3 days moving average. So it's all post-debate. He shows 4 points of movement in his national polling, which puts Obama from a narrow lead to a narrow deficit. Effectively, though, Greg, this race is deadlocked. I think when we get to the swing states, we'll see that.
You know, Pat, people are calling this a bounce for Romney. Well, the thing about a bounce is it doesn't last. Will this?
Oh, no, this may be the most significant debate in terms of impact, other than Reagan's debate against Carter, in affecting the race. You know, debates usually don't move numbers. Romney's actually getting some real movement out of one debate. But what it does, and what's happened, is that Romney's favorable rating has skyrocketed. We saw among uncommitted voters in the CBS poll right after the debate, from 30, remember we talked about this last week, from 30% of the people saying he cared about people like them, doubled almost to 53. He managed to do what we suggested. And by the way, that's the important thing, changing the structure of the race. And that has now made it a real close race, not just in numbers, but in context.
You know, Congressman, in all of these attack ads for the course of the last 6 months, more than $100 million has been spent by the Obama campaign demonizing Mitt Romney. And I think the public expectation, who didn't know who he is, was expecting this sort of crazed plutocrat with horns in his head who kills people. I mean, those were the ads. And suddenly on Wednesday night, they see a guy who's, hey, he's pretty reasonable.
Yep. I think he did the best job any candidate could possibly have done. I can't find fault with anything Romney did that night.
Michael Reagan said he was better than his dad back in 1980.
Well, here's the thing. What it has done, along with what Pat and Doug said about the structure of the race, it has altered the passion differential that we've talked about. Since the conventions, Republicans have been down in the mouth, Democrats enthused. In 1 hour and a half, Democrats have lost their passion. They're all mad at Obama. And Republicans are unified again. The crowds show it. He's raised $12 million in 3 days since the debate.
I want to go through the Rasmussen polls of the swing states because we've been talking about this a lot for the last 6-7 weeks. Take a look at this. Romney ahead now in Florida, North Carolina, Ohio, and Virginia.
Not Ohio. Not Ohio.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's down by 1 in Ohio.
But he was so far behind.
What I think we're seeing, Greg, is that in Florida, which is a Republican-leaning state if the race is tied, that Governor Romney has a slight advantage. North Carolina, he should win as well. Ohio is the key because all the swing states, including Virginia, can go to Governor Romney, but unless he wins Ohio, he can't win the election. And Ohio is now close to deadlock.
Pat, Romney's down double digits in Ohio.
Well, some of those polls. He was certainly down in Ohio. I don't ever believe he was in double digits. But by the way, I want to say something about polling. Notice the news organization, which are broke, spent all that money doing these state polls. We have not had one in-depth poll since the debate talking about the effect, favorabilities and other things. I just mentioned that. But I will say this. One of the things that's happened as you close this race up is that it's this disconnect between and Romney should be using it between the fact that which you said, Greg, the $200 million or more spent making him into an ogre, and the fact the president never made any of those charges. If I'd been in the Romney campaign, I'd be out there torpedoing Obama's advertising, saying, you know what? And I wrote about it. I'm writing a piece for Breitbart on this. Why won't he say it himself?
All right. Put up the Real Clear Politics electoral map right now because there are some changes here. It's now 251 to 181. You got to have 270. President Obama in the lead. But he did have, can you put up the Electoral College map? All right. He did have Ohio, and that's now in the, contested column. Romney loses Missouri. Both moved to swing states. Talk to us about these, Congressman.
Well, I think it's what we've been saying is if Romney heals himself, which he went a long way in one debate doing, it'll affect the national picture, and then all the states will go in line with that. And he's done that. Now, but here's the thing. We've got 30 days left. The Mitt Romney we saw Wednesday night, we've got to see it again and again and again. And his campaign, Greg, needs to make us see him. And we're a little distressed in analyzing this race that since Thursday morning, they're not capitalizing well enough. Their TV ads are not running clips from the debate, highlighting the great performance. It's not on the ad.
There's the map right there. So it has changed a little bit, Doug. But I want to ask you about his performance because a lot of folks are saying, well, that wasn't really Barack Obama. He's off his game. No. If you actually watch Barack Obama without a teleprompter in, for example, news conferences, he fumbles, stumbles, and mumbles. He filibusters. He goes on and on like a professor, and he never answers the question.
Well, that's true. And he did not draw a clear distinction between his record and the positions that Governor Romney has taken. And John is exactly right, Greg. He did not make the kind of charges he's made successfully about eviscerating the social safety net, cutting Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. Bottom line, Romney was able to move to the center. Obama fell apart, I think. It was even worse than you're saying. He looked like he was not up to the job.
Yeah, but that's consistent with what he does in news conferences.
Yeah, and this is exactly, if I were the Romney campaign, I'd have had a camera out there the next day showing him back on the teleprompter. It would have said, back on the teleprompter, back on the attack. But the thing is, what Doug just said is right. But Romney did something else. He talked about working together bipartisan, which appeals to a lot of voters, particularly weak Democrats. He didn't sound like a partisan. He talked about Obamacare, which is a big issue for him, and he made the philosophical
He promised the middle class he wasn't going to raise their taxes. All right, guys, stand by. The first presidential debate could be a major game changer in this race. So will the next debate have as much of an impact? We're going to hear from our campaign insiders. 30 days until Election Day and just 9 days until the next debate. What does each candidate need to do going forward, considering the stunning outcome from last week's debate? Back now, our campaign insiders, John Lebutillier, Pat Caddell, and Doug Schoen. I want to talk about the VP debate first because that's coming up this next week. Congressman, how do you see this one shaking out?
Well, I see from the Romney-Ryan point of view, there's something that Heather just announced on here about this Lieutenant Colonel Wood being subpoenaed to come to Congress and reveal what went on in Benghazi.
Right.
This is the Achilles heel of Obama and Biden. They're in charge. They screwed up, clearly. And if I were Ryan and his people, I open up this debate this week and go right after Biden, Mr. Foreign Policy expert, and say, you guys were asleep at the switch. You had the president going off to fundraisers in Vegas while these people are being dragged to the streets of Benghazi.
Sure.
And really tick off Biden. Because that's when he
loses it?
That's when he loses it.
All right. Even the Washington Post is taking a calling at Benghazi Gate, so it could get bigger and bigger. The president already is, after more than 40 months of unemployment above 8%, is now touting the downtick to 7.8%, Pat. Is that just a digit, or is it meaningful? Will people vote based on that?
I don't think they'll vote because they know what the economy really is. But I have to say this. We had two reports. We have two surveys. One had 100,000 loss of new jobs. One had 800,000 new jobs. Right. That's the one they got this number. We can't find the 700,000. Gordon Zuckerman wrote an important piece this morning. The number of people who are unemployed or underemployed is exactly the same in the survey that claimed it went down.
It's roughly 23
million. Let me just
million.
say, this is the reason that people are skeptical is it's the same Labor Department that has this month told companies not to follow the law and sequestering. That's why Republicans believe.
So you're telling me there are ideologues in the Labor Department that might have influenced
I'm just saying that's what some people think, but I'm just telling you they've got this thing so messed up, nobody could figure it out.
All right, the counter to the poor debate performance by the Obama campaign seems to be, Doug, that Romney lied. He's a big fat liar. Is that going to work?
Well, I think it has worked so far They have gone negative on him. They've got $181 million undeniably with George Clooney and Stacy Keibler in a cast of 1,000. They're going to raise tens of millions more. Greg, they believe that what they have done so far to attack him on tax cuts, on his business career, and on his taxes paid has been successful. I think they're going to run against what they believe is the real Mitt Romney. I'm not sure it works if Governor Romney does what we've suggested on Campaign Insiders he needs to do, which is a clear alternative vision, as he did last Tuesday.
Let me just say this. This thing where the president gets away, when they start using words like liar in front of people, the president can't do that at this town meeting thing. Romney, if I were Romney, I'd be turning to him and saying, wait a minute. Am I a liar, or do we just disagree? I would not let him up on that. The problem the president's got, he's on the horns of a dilemma. If he goes too negative personally, you know what it takes away from him? He's the man supposed to unify the country.
But Pat, I think he's willing to take that risk. And he
can lose doing that.
And Pat,
if Romney
he's willing to take that risk.
Well,
he has to.
Is it unpresidential to take that approach?
Yes.
And does he diminish himself?
Well, that's why I think he didn't do it the other night. I think he was sitting there waiting for Jim Lehrer to ask the tough questions. And
John,
when they
I think
didn't
he lost his game. I think he lost his nerve in that debate.
He will surely bring up the next time they talk about domestic policy, the 47% remark, right?
Yeah, and that's why what Romney did, I think, was very smart. He acknowledged we all make mistakes. He said, look, I misspoke. It happens. It takes it off the table for most people. Not everyone. Ideologues won't forgive him, but I think it was the right thing to do going on Sean Hannity's program. It will serve him well.
Will he go after Bain Capital? Because I'm not sure that resonates.
Look, this is an audience of people who will be asking the questions. They don't like this negative campaigning. The president, if he goes this way, I am telling you right now, my God, if I were Romney, it is a dream if you do it right.
Well, listen, if he hangs out with Stacy Keibler, he's going to pick up some votes. We have a picture of Stacy, and
Stacy may not be hanging out for much longer with George Clooney.
On the rocks.
Yeah.
They've been on the rocks.
Okay.
Well,
you guys all have Yankee ties on, right?
Yes.
And you were there Monday night when, you're the good luck charm.
Yes. That's exactly right. We got them into the playoffs. We're going to get them into the series.
Here we are.
Campaign Insiders.
That's us.
Thanks so much. You can catch more of our Campaign Insiders every Monday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern live.foxnews.com, and they will be back here next Sunday. You can also follow them on Twitter at FN Insiders. We'll be right back.